Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Jordan. Here's your flash briefing for the week of August 11th. City Council will meet for a regular session Tuesday night at 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. Meetings are open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. The city is seeking public input regarding contracted residential curbside solid waste services. The meetings will be held in an open house style format in each council district. Feel free to attend the one that works best for you. Public comments can also be submitted online through August 15th at 5 p.m. Learn more at cityofls.net. The grand opening of Green Street is this weekend, August 15th through 17th. Everyone is invited to celebrate the ribbon cutting and opening of this bold, vibrant gathering space. Green Street will be home to the indoor farmers market, live music, local art, open air performances, and extraordinary events in a dynamic indoor-outdoor setting. Grand opening weekend will be packed with live entertainment, food trucks, kids activities, live music, the Saturday farmers market, and more. You don't want to miss this. Come be a part of it. If you would like a front row seat to the grand opening of Green Street, we are on the lookout for volunteers. Be a part of opening weekend magic. Learn more and sign up at greenstreetls.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Officers en route, 914, armed robbery.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those, and it goes through. It's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys and get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. These come up too. Perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple. Quick.
Lee Summit has lots of local destinations, but where do you start? Green Street, a vibrant community space in the heart of downtown, is where Lee Summit comes together. Its 3 dynamic areas have something for everyone. Green Street Market is a modern event venue and home to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market. Green Street Lawn is a covered performance space hosting live music, family activities, and more. Green Street Grove is a mixture of gathering spaces, an immersive playground, and bold architectural features. And all 3 areas host community events year-round. So the next time you set out to enjoy the city you love, remember, meet at Green Street.
It's extremely rewarding overall. Just the fact of working with other council people and other volunteer commission members that are so involved and care so much about making this community better. It sort of kind of lifts your own spirits by being involved in that kind of environment with other people like that. For many years, I was a typical resident, raising a family, going to work, in many cases leaving the city for employment, and went through a leadership class through the chamber, learned a lot about our city and learned about all the great amenities and resources we have, and was asked if I was interested in volunteering on a commission. I said yes, and kind of the rest is history. I've just completed my 3rd year on City Council, and so looking forward to finishing strong with this first term, and look forward to continuing to serve this community. My thing is that there's so many talented people in this community that believe in so many different initiatives, and for me, one of the big reasons why I decided to run was that as a residential taxpayer, I felt that we can always increase the business tax base of our community, and that's kind of been a big part of my involvement on City Council, is to encourage and promote and make it easier for development to occur, commercial development to occur in our community, to increase that tax base and diversify that tax base. And so I think we've made significant strides the last few years. We've had a collective great group of council members and mayor where we've really truly accomplished a lot of things that there were somewhat kind of stumbling blocks for previous councils. Working new contracts with our union personnel, firefighters and police was a big accomplishment for us. The fact that we were able to push along some initiatives like the downtown renovation for a market, a farmer's market, It's been a great experience to be part of those meetings, to help nudge it, and to the point where we have a developer involved is just a great feeling to have been part of that. And others, I mean, I think our park system, we've continued to support our park system to add a new community center, for example, that we negotiated with the Metropolitan Community Colleges. So I'm proud of all those things and just being able to help make a difference in many aspects. I love definitely spending time with my family. We have 3 daughters and they're all fairly active in some in sports and other extracurricular activities. But for me, I love being outdoors. I love the trails, I love riding my bike, and I love playing golf. And we have awesome amenities and options within our community to have that kind of a lifestyle. This June will be 25 years that my wife and I have lived in Lee Summit and have raised 3 daughters in this community. I know this city has incredible, talented residents that come from all different walks of life, very diverse group of families in our community that it's so rewarding to be involved on a government level or some kind of civic commission or committee that in many cases, you get out of it more than you put in. And I truly live by that and I believe that.
I'd like to call to order the Public Works Committee meeting Monday, August 11th, 2025. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Here.
Vice Chair Rader.
Present.
Councilmember Hodges.
Here. May I please get an approval of the agenda?
Chair, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
None that I'm aware of have been received.
Okay, thank you. First item of business, approval of the July 14th, 2025 Public Works Committee action letter.
Chair, I move to approve the July 14, 2025 Public Works Commission action letter.
Second.
Thank you. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is item B, TMP-3368, an ordinance awarding the bid for project number 718 for the Sidewalk Gap Project Phase 2 to Myers Construction and Landscaping LLC in the amount of $279,567.50 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Good evening. Erin Rolovo, Senior Staff Engineer with Public Works. This is a contract for the Sidewalk Gap Program Phase 2. The Sidewalk Gap Program intends to incrementally address the gaps in the sidewalk system throughout the city. This is a result of the comprehensive plan livable streets policy with the city. There are several reasons why there may be gaps in the system. Previous standards didn't require the sidewalks. Plots of parcels of land that weren't developed along with a subdivision, and that piece of sidewalk was left out. Utility conflicts, things of that nature. And this program is being used to address those gaps. With Phase 2, we hope to address the majority of the gaps in the Tier 1 priority level, which was set by council. And we were directed anything within a quarter mile of a school or park. This Phase 2 should address those gaps. Now, it will not necessarily address missing links, if you will. So entire streets that don't have sidewalk aren't necessarily being addressed. These are just the gaps where maybe sidewalk was started at one end or another, and then there was a missing link in between. This is principally funded by the half-cent 2017 CIP tax renewal approved by voters, and in addition, the April 23rd no tax increase bond issue. Advertisement for bids for construction were made on July 10th, 2025. It was Myers Construction and Landscaping was determined to be the lowest bidder by city staff, and staff would recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I have a quick question. If somebody has a sidewalk gap, what's the preferred method that they let city staff know?
They can call us at 1800 and leave a message, and I'm happy to call it back. Also, the online app, they can report it through the app as well. That's very helpful because a lot of times they can attach pictures.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair Pryor, just for clarification, it's 969-1800 is Public Works, and then the LS Connect app, which is available at cityofls.net, or if you go through whether it be Apple or any other type of app location, you can find LS Connect, and that would be it. Or you could just email publicworks@cityofls.net. That would work too.
All right. Thank you. I love the app, so thank you. All right. Any more questions? May I please get a motion for approval?
Chair, I move for full approval to council TMP-3368 An Ordinance awarding the bid for project number 718 for the Sidewalk Gap Project Phase 2 to Myers Construction and Landscaping LLC in the amount of $279,567.50 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader,
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item is item C, TMP-3391, an ordinance authorizing the renewal of a lease agreement by and between the City of Lee Summit and BFRE LLC for a period of 6 years with options of one additional 6-year term. Mr. Arrington?
Yes, good evening, Joel Arrington, Airport Manager. So this is a renewal of an existing ground lease with BFRE. We know them as Lee Summit Honda. Since 2016, they have leased the property to the west of their dealership to park cars. So if you ever drive by, you'll see the main building, and then there's a parking lot to the side. So they have leased that since then. Part of the lease there, the renewal process is to go out and have the property appraised, which we did. And so they're currently paying a fair market value for that lease. And then at the end of the next 6 years, we'll do the same thing. We'll go back out, we'll get a fair market value appraisal of the property to negotiate a new starting lease for the following 6 years.
Thank you. Any questions? No? May I please get a motion to advance to council?
Chair, I move for full approval to council, TMP-3391, an ordinance authorizing the renewal of a lease agreement by and between the City of Lee Summit and BFRE LLC for a period of 6 years with options for one additional 6-year term.
Second.
May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader,
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next item, TMP-3373, an ordinance authorizing the execution of Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Amendment to State Block Grant Agreement, Amendment Number 1 for project number 22-109A-1 by and between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission granting federal funds in the amount of $71,550 for the construction of the Runway 11-29 Taxiway Bravo and Taxiway Charlie Reseal, Joint Seal and Remarking project, and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same.
Yeah, so Mike Anderson would normally be here, but he is homesick this evening, so I'll fill in for him. Yeah, so this is just a kind of a cleanup ordinance here. This project was completed last July, and it's been made aware to us by MoDOT that there are some additional federal funds out there available to us. So that's what this grant is doing, is just going out and applying those funds to this project. There's actually around I believe $85,000 or $90,000 total, so $75,000 of it's going to this project, and the balance is going to go towards the terminal project, which we hope to start here shortly.
That's great. Thank you. Any questions?
One. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Arrington, the state block grant agreement, is that just used for airports? Or
yes.
is that in a general grant?
No, it's for the airport. So we are a federal block grant state in relation to aviation stuff. So any money that comes to us from the FAA goes through MoDOT and then to us. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. May I please get a motion to advance to council?
Chair, I move for the full approval, TMP-3373, an ordinance authorizing the execution of the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission Amendment to State Block Grant Agreement, Amendment 1 for project number 22-109A-1 by and between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri, and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission granting federal funds in the amount of $71,550 for the construction of the Runway 11-29 Taxiway Bravo and Taxiway Charlie Reseal, Joint Seal and Remarking project, and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
Thank you. May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader,
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item is TMP-3399, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an on-call agreement for professional engineering and planning services for the Kansas City Lee Summit Regional Airport, RFQ number 2025-064, with HDR Inc. for 1 year with 4 possible 1-year renewal options, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Good evening, Joel Arrington. Yeah. Okay, so our current on-call engineering agreement is getting ready to expire at the end of this month, and we're required to have a aviation consultant on board to help us with the grant projects and construction planning and design, long-term planning of the airport. CMT, or Crawford Murphy and Tilley, has been our on-call firm for the last 20 plus years. And they had done a great job for the phase that the airport was currently in. All of the airside developments, that's runways, taxiways, aprons, and so forth. So for this process, we advertised the RFQ. We did receive 3 responses back, and a panel consisting of people from the airport, Public Works, and Public Works Engineering reviewed those and scored them. Because the scores were so close, all these firms are very, very good. They know what they're doing. But because they were so close, we interviewed all 3 of them. The same panel that judged the presentations also judged the in-person interviews. After those interviews, it was very clear to all of us that, based on where the airport is today and where the projects that we're going to be focused on in the next 4 to 5 years, we felt like HDR was really better suited to handle these types of projects. Just based on their experience level, past projects, it wasn't one thing. It was a combination of things that led us to choosing them for this contract.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Rader?
Thank you, Chair. So, Joel, who is the panel that interviews them? Just curious.
Yeah, so it's myself, Dave Lowe from engineering, Thad Dearman, and Mike Anderson.
Okay. And then do you have an average of what we spend on that kind of an on-call engineering?
It's going to depend on the projects,
Okay.
Because you'll notice that there's no dollar amounts associated with that, and it really depends on the type of project that comes along. If it's I normally don't see those costs.
Okay.
But you can imagine if you've got a $25 million runway to build, their fee is going to be pretty hefty. Versus if you just have a restriping, it's pretty minimal.
Well, and then are they involved in the new terminal?
So, not really, no. So CMT is the engineer on record for that project. So even though they won't be the consultant going forward, they will still be on site overseeing the project schedule of the terminal building. But once that's done, then they'll be out of the picture.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Any additional questions? May I please get a motion to advance to council?
Chair, I'll make a motion to advance to council TMP-3399, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an on-call agreement for the professional engineering and planning services for the Kansas City Lee's Summit Airport, RFQ number 25-064 with HDR Inc. for 1 year with 4 possible 1-year renewal options, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is TMP-3388, an ordinance approving a specialized aviation service organization, SASO. SASO?
SASO.
SASO.
Agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Rebel Aviation, Inc. for a period of 2 years with continuing options for renewal to perform flight training services at the Kansas City Lee Summit Regional Airport, and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same. Mr. Arrington?
Yep, Joel Arrington, Airport Manager. So in the past, I've brought what are known as FBO agreements to get approved, and those had been used for years. Those probably weren't the best agreements to use, just wording really. The correct type of agreement is this SASO agreement, and again, all this SASO agreement is doing is just authorizing them or licensing them to do business at the Lee Summit Airport. So. Rebel has been on the airport since 2016. They currently rent a hangar from us. Because they rent a hangar, we only do their FBO, their SASO agreements for 2-year increments. If they were to build their own hangar, then we would do it for much, much longer. So this is just a renewal of their existing license to do flight training at the airport.
Thank you. Any questions? May I please get a motion to advance to council?
Chair, I move to recommend to full council approval TMP-3388, an ordinance approving a specialized aviation service organization SASO agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Rebel Aviation Incorporated, training services at the Kansas City Lee Summit Regional Airport, and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader,
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is TMP-3404, an ordinance approving a sole source agreement in the form of purchase orders between the City of Lee Summit and
Evoqua.
Evoqua Water Technologies LLC for calcium nitrate solution, Bioxide, for odor control for an amount not to exceed $300,000, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same by and on behalf of the city.
All right. Amanda Bagwell, Water Utilities Engineering Manager. So as you stated, we're looking for approval for a sole source agreement to purchase the Bioxide, which is a calcium nitrate solution from Evoqua Water Technologies. It is a proprietary solution that they've created that we use in our odor control for our wastewater facilities. We use it primarily at our Tudor Road pump station, which is the city's largest pump station that has long force main runs, which generate a fair amount of odor towards the end of those runs. So we add the Bioxide at the wet wells at the pump stations, and it works by reacting with the wastewater to eliminate the odor-causing bacteria, and it inhibits the growth of further bacteria, and it also assists and inhibiting the corrosion of the pipes. So it's got a lot of benefit to us. We also use it in our larger low-pressure sewer systems. We inject it into the wastewater there as well for odor control. We would like to use this anywhere from 100 to 400 gallons per day. It changes based on the variables in the wastewater, your weather conditions, and your temperature. So we've got a pretty neat setup where we can kind of dial in each day how much we think we need to add. And then this is being funded through the Water Utilities FY 2026 operations budget. So with that, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Hodges?
Now, I just want to say I'm excited to see this because I drive by the Tudor one quite often, and man, when it smells, it smells.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that this, because that'll be great. And also, I have to say hi to you because you were my neighbor 33 years ago, and you always leave before meetings, so I just wanted to say hi.
I know, you won't believe it, but your brother slept on my bedroom floor when you were born.
TMI.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but I was like, I need to say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see you.
You too. But yeah, no, I think this is great, so thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Chair. I don't want to open up a can of worms. I really don't. But I just want to know, because I don't know much about the wastewater. So does it just hang in there in that area, in the areas that the wastewater just stays there all the time, all the time, all the time? Never overflows? Does it go somewhere?
I am not sure
Fast.
I'm understanding what you're saying.
Okay, your wastewater.
Yeah.
Okay, so it just stays in those areas, and it just stays in the ponds of the wastewater. It just stays there forever. It doesn't go away. Does it evaporate over time?
So the wastewater itself, like at a pump station, it comes in and it goes out
Where does it go?
So we pump it to a gravity system. So for Tudor Road, for example, we have a 30-inch force main and a 20-inch force main. And the 30-inch force main goes north to our Maybrook watershed, like near the Lakewood Lakes. And so it dumps into the gravity interceptor that then gets collected in the Little Blue interceptor that goes to the Atherton wastewater treatment plant. So it's constantly flowing. The 20-inch goes to the Little Cedar Creek watershed, which is over by Douglas Road and the police station. And it goes to a gravity interceptor, the Little Cedar Creek interceptor, which then dumps into the Little Blue interceptor and also goes to Atherton. So they both flow eventually to the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, that's what I'm wanting to know. It ultimately all flows to the water treatment plant.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. May I please get a motion to advance to council?
Chair, I move to advance to council TMP-3404, an ordinance approving a sole source agreement in the form of purchase orders between the City of Lee Summit and Evoqua Water Utilities LLC for calcium nitrate solution Bioxide for odor control for the amount not to exceed $300,000 and authorizing the city manager to execute the same on and behalf of the city.
Second.
May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader,
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda is TMP-3412, an ordinance awarding the bid for solicitation number 2025-064 for the abatement and demolition of MSHP Troop A campus at 504 Southeast Blue Parkway to AT Abatement Services, Inc. in the amount of $779,844 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Hi, Craig Kohler, Senior Staff Engineer. So Public Works Engineering advertised for bids of the abatement and demolition of the Troop A campus through public purchase, the city website, and then we also sent out email solicitations. We ended up getting 3 bids. However, 2 of them, we considered them non-responsive due to, well, one of them, they didn't put the offer sheet in there, they didn't put the bid bond in, and they didn't sign the acknowledgement to the addendum. The other one didn't sign the acknowledgement to the addendum. They also put on their bid sheet that that they were not providing performance and payment bonds, which is required in the contract. So basically, those 2 were thrown out, and we're going with AT Abatement Services. Their bid was less than the engineer's estimate, so we'd like to award it to them. Are there any questions?
Okay, I'm asking. Thank you, Chair. So there was some discussion about the bid, as you know, and I know that's why you made that explanation. So I will just say, if I was in the public and I was watching this, I would ask, this is what I would think to ask would be, so is it difficult for people to go through the process on the bid process? I mean, I know it's hard to answer this question. I get that, but it's just like, that would be the first thing that someone maybe out there might think. It's very well defined as to what you must do.
It's all documented in the contract that we sent out with the bid docs and everything. I mean, it's all in there.
So it's just a matter of lack of...
There was 4 or 5 documents that they had to submit with the bid, and then the performance bond and all that stuff. After we award the contract, and they were going to have to submit that within 5 days after award.
Sure.
And it's all spelled out in there.
So it's very detail-oriented so that they understand this was what they must do in order to participate in a bid process. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
So whenever someone submits a bid, if you notice that something's missing, do we not follow up with them and say, hey, you didn't submit this? Do we just go with the more expensive person even if somebody else had a better bid?
Yes.
How come we don't follow up with them?
Well, after the bid opening, Mr. Binger will answer this question then.
Yeah, George Binger, city engineer. Technically, if it's unresponsive, we're not even supposed to read the bid. So theoretically, we don't even know those numbers. It's just some of the systems we have, like with the other bid systems we have for like our larger projects, the bidder can't even submit if they don't have everything lined out correctly. Because as a safeguard, public purchase is another system that we use for commonly for RFP, requests for proposals, and maybe quick bids or something like this. And so in this process, the documents are there. There's a very clear checklist of what needs to be submitted. And it's kind of like the old paper bids, except it's online. So they take those forms, they're scanned into a single document and uploaded to public purchase. So then we open the documents, we see everything there. We'll see their bid form, we'll see the bid bonds, we'll see the attachments that are supposed to be there. We're not even supposed to look at the price until we verify that everything else is in place. So if it's considered unresponsive, we just kind of like close the file and set it aside. So that's how that's supposed to work in that process.
But why can't anyone notify like anyone of what they're missing?
It has to do with maintaining the fairness and integrity of the bid process, because if somebody comes in, well, hey, we like this price over here, but you maybe lined out or altered the bid form, call them up and say, hey, can you do this? So we kind of get into negotiating a bid after it's opening if we start doing that. We've had some follow-up conversations where we have let's say we have several bidders and one is maybe much lower than what we expected, much lower than our estimate. We may call them to make sure, did you really understand the bid? We'll go through that, especially if they're new to the city. Because, this is, do you understand, did you see in the contract that this applies and this applies? We may have that conversation just to make sure that we don't have a lot of construction issues or management issues down the road. But if we have an unresponsive bid, we cannot contact that bidder to follow up and kind of ask them, hey, can you submit this after the fact?
So we cannot negotiate bids? I feel like that could save the city a lot of money.
Well, that's basically we're following state statute when it gets to bids, because there's a request for proposals. There is there's an evaluation process that goes with it, and price may be part of that evaluation. You're looking at qualifications in that. Bids themselves, it's by price, and as the city, we reserve the right to go with the best interest of the project. So that we've had very rare cases where we may have had a low bidder that was responsive, but we had a very poor history from them on past projects. Like they didn't perform, they didn't respond, maybe they didn't finish. And so we would notify them, we're not awarding you the bid, we're going to the second one. And then when we get into like the design services, professional services, request for qualifications, by statute, because it's design services, there's like, intellectual property rights involved with that. When engineers produce plans and reports, they have limited copyrights on that. So that's where we go on a qualification. And then with the qualification after that is when we would negotiate. And then if we're unsuccessful, we can conclude negotiations and then go to the second qualified firm. I don't think we've ever done that with the city. We've had that phone call of saying, this is your last chance, we're ready to go to number two, and then they'll kind of bring their fee down. But when we get to actually bids, construction bids, where it's a very well-defined process, we're not allowed to negotiate after the fact.
It's not a city's discretion to negotiate bids. So we're locked in, and it's a matter of fairness for all bidders, that they're given the same opportunity to prepare the same information. Even on this one, there was a pre-bid requirement that they had to attend, so they had access to all the same information to prepare their bid at the same time that opening occurs. If you start to do those negotiations and allow them to follow up later and give stuff, it creates a disadvantage for one bidder or another.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Any other questions?
Good, thank you.
May I please get a motion to advance to council?
Chair, I move to recommend to full council approval TMP-3412, an ordinance awarding the bid for solicitation number 2025-064 for the abatement and demolition of MSHP Troop A campus at 504 Southeast Blue Parkway to AT Abatement Services Incorporated in the amount of $779,844, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement for the same.
Second.
May I please get a roll call?
Chair Pryor.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda, 2025-7063, discussion, contracted residential solid waste services. Mr. Park?
Well, I pulled that up. I appreciate our last conversation. We probably need to have more discussions about different delivery methods for various contracts that you see, whether they be a design contract, which has different rules and regulations to a bid versus like a construction manager at risk project. And there's a lot of different things. And with each approach, it takes a little different limitation of what we can and can't do as an organization. But it can be confusing, especially if you're not used to bids and that, because honestly, of the city, we would love to have taken a lower bid if you just follow the process that's laid out for you. It almost is a disservice to our taxpayers that a contractor couldn't follow the rules and submit all the required documentation so that their bid could be accepted. So now moving on to solid waste. Again, Michael Park, Director of Public Works. And tonight's presentation, if you will, is more of an introduction for committee because we're about to kick off some pretty heavy lift here at Public Works Committee on solid waste. And so it'll be a little more brief than what you might expect next month or the month after, just kind of for your awareness and to kind of bring everybody up to speed. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we got here, why we're here at Public Works Committee, what's been done, and then kind of what is next. And where we're at right now is we're executing the plan. We're in process. And we're going to begin preparing that RFP. As I'll go through where we're at and what we're doing, you'll see we're collecting information essentially at this point so that we can have a good dialogue with committee and drafting that RFP. You'll also see just some kind of general statistics as I go through this very brief presentation. We may recall some of these as we begin preparing that draft request for proposals. Right now, about a third of our haulers are in residential business, residential services, and this entire initiative only affects residential haulers. So we're not talking about specialty haulers, we're not talking about commercial haulers, this is just curbside residential trash service that we're discussing. So there's been a really long history of solid waste as an initiative in Lee Summit. Over 2 decades worth of conversation. We've had previous solid waste task force. It's been recommended in previous strategic plans. More recently, we had a citizen survey last year and just kind of asking what the priorities of residential trash service are for our residents. And you'll see by far and away their greatest priority is cost of service, availability of those services, timeliness of service. These are all your top 3. Of course, then we have heard in some of our public engagement the ability to choose providers. But I believe it's really those top 3 as well as maybe impact my neighborhood and customer service, rounding out all of the reasons that residents think are most important that brought it to the City Council's attention and made it a priority goal. So City Council held a retreat a little less than a year ago and established 4 priority goals to move forward over this year and coming years, and solid waste is one of those. So we had a council work session where we gave a lot more background to solid waste and contracting solid waste services. We talked about opportunities and concerns, and then we received ultimately a unanimous direction from the City Council to move forward. It was assigned to Public Works Committee and staff to issue that 2-year notice that's required by state statute, providing notice of our intent as a community to take over residential contracted, sorry, I misspoke there, to take and assume responsibility for contracting residential curbside trash service. And so through the engagement plan, we're reviewing best management practices. We have had meetings with our consultant who understands the solid waste business, and we're continuing to do that, staff researching other communities, that transition, how that has been effective, concerns to look out for, and we'll continue to do that. We've been holding HOA meetings, meeting with various HOAs that contract, that don't contract, that might be interested in contracting or have no interest in contracting. I believe we have over 140 HOAs in the city that have been identified, and we reached out individually to all those. Response rates have been pretty good. We have done digital surveys with the HOAs, as well as then added mail and encouraging their dialogue with us to get their feedback. We've been meeting with industry representatives. Those are the haulers themselves or trash companies. Asked them to also do surveys, and we're continuing to meet with them. And so far, we've had pretty good response. I believe we're about 7 out of 10 of those residential haulers have met with us, and we continue to meet with them in our public engagement, the informational meetings. And we've had 3 out of those 4 meetings, 1 in each district. I believe the only one remaining is in District 3, and that's scheduled for Wednesday. They've been attended pretty well, anywhere from 25 to 35 residents that we've seen in attendance, I believe. Mr. Bussin is also here with us tonight, so he can help answer any questions you might have. But we're still soliciting and gathering that feedback. So until we've completed all of the public informational meetings, we're not really ready to share summaries. But we can maybe give you some idea of what some of the concerns are if you want to talk about it. Then we'll be creating a solid waste task force made up of residents who have submitted their interest and being a part of a citizen task force to look at the RFP, kind of bounce some ideas off of, make sure that we have that community engagement. Right now, staff is suggesting that we have a committee of about 13 individuals, and I'll talk about that and what the makeup might be. I'd like to get your consensus on if that's the right makeup of that committee before we end tonight. And their purpose will really be help us review that RFP, provide updates, and I'd like to lean on that committee to also assist, if it's the council's pleasure to move forward with a contract in that public education, because as soon as we would approve a contract, we're going to have about 18 months before there would be any implementation. So there's a long rollout period with the public to educate them, be aware of what those services are, how they would be implemented. And then we're here beginning the Public Works Committee work sessions. Your role in this is to develop a recommendation to the full council on what an RFP would be. And an RFP is that request for proposal. Essentially, it's the contract that we would take out to bid for all of the haulers to bid on. It would determine what is the base services, what are subscription services, what are the terms and conditions, what are the performance metrics, how will customer service and billing be handled. So all of those topics would be rolled into a contract, and thus part of that request for proposals. And so we'll work up to a recommendation based on that engagement plan that the full council and mayor sent us forward with, hopefully to deliver an RFP that we can advertise by the end of the year. And so with regard to the solid waste task force composition, we were thinking 4 HOAs, kind of pick a large HOA that contracts, a smaller HOA that contracts, an HOA that doesn't contract at all, and then 2 citizens per district. We've gotten a pretty good response, and we'll talk about how we go through that selection. I think staff will go through all of their interests to see why they want to be a part of this engagement, and maybe put forward a recommendation for all of mayor and council, say any objections to these, and so that we can continue to move forward pretty quickly. Maybe we'll have that task force created by the end of this week or early next week. And then we would have somebody who understands the industry, not a hauler or a contractor, but somebody like from the solid waste district at Mid-America Regional Council, or somebody who's in the consulting area of solid waste, also be a part of this committee. Somebody with a lot more knowledge. Go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering, for someone that didn't attend the meeting, is there a way they can put in if they want to be considered for the?
Good question. Yes, online, if you go to cityofls.net and you find trash, so if you just search for trash, it'll bring up one of the top 3 web pages on our website, and it's the web page for this contracting residential solid waste initiative. On there, they can submit their comments. If they didn't attend a meeting, you can submit the same comments opportunity online, as well as your interest form. HOAs have a separate survey that's still available up online. We will be closing that feedback period coming shortly, because we're going to need to assemble all the feedback and begin moving and making progress.
Okay,
but it is there if they want to submit that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And so we're totaling 13 members. Kind of the composition also mirrors a little bit of our total households. We got almost 37,000 households, and the representation of those households either in an HOA that contracts or not contracted in any way, whether they're independent, not in an HOA, or in an HOA that doesn't contract. You see we're about 25% of residences are in an HOA that don't contract. About half of our residents are in an HOA or not in an HOA at all, so roughly 3/4 are not in a contracted situation right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I ask a question.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Michael, on this part right here, so how are you selecting these 13 members as far as like their subjective, is it, you know what I'm saying, their opinions? How, because some people may not want it, some people won't want it. I mean, how are you going to determine to get a good mix of, are you using the surveys as part of that?
So we're going to use, they have responded with an interest response, explaining why they want to be a part of this. So hopefully they've given us enough detail in their interest form that they've submitted of why they want to be a part of this committee, this task force. If they didn't give us much information and they just said, I like this or I don't like this, that's not really the qualification we're looking for.
So you want them to be detailed in the reasons for or against?
Yeah, well, I think they ought to be able to communicate why they think they would be a valued member of this task force.
Okay. And you've got criteria based on that, I'm guessing that.
Well, I think it'll be a subjective evaluation. There's no scoring in particular in mind. I think we'll read through these. We'll see who's articulating in their ways why they think they're have a value contribution, either for or against, and we'll take that all into consideration.
Okay.
I think we have plenty to choose from.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
So these are just some of the topics that the committee will be engaging in as you develop the RFP. Some of these are already points of discussion as we've been having the informational meetings. Existing HOA contracts, big question. I mean, the city council could say, no, we just want this to be one contract, the whole city. I don't care if a contract already exists with an HOA. I'll say in our informational meetings, we've been communicating staff's preference at this point is that, you know, if an HOA already contracts, I think it might be okay that we try to find a way to allow that contracting to continue and have them say, we're going to either opt in or opt out. With the caveat that if an HOA contracts and they opt into the city's contract, there really isn't any going back. As a hauler, they would need the certainty on what they're bidding for. So the whole discussion of existing contracts is something that the committee is going to have to deal with. Another just general question is how big are the containers? I'm pretty certain that a contract will require containers. There won't any be open bags, but the industry standard and preference in our feedback from haulers is 65 gallon is kind of the minimum size. 95 gallon is another typical size. We need to determine what is the base for any contracted service. Is it going to be 65 gallon, 95 gallon? Do you offer the alternatives under a subscription model for people to get more? If they want more, they can pay for more. If they want less, maybe they get a little reduced price. We don't know yet. Yard waste, is that part of the base bundled service? You know, you can assume that your base is going to be trash and recycling, but it may or may not include yard waste. That might be something that you have your households subscribe to, or what the frequency is of that yard waste is, or bulky item collection. Those all could be different aspects to the RFP that we'll need to talk through. And we really, as part of this public engagement, we want to understand what residents want, so that we can make an educated decision on what's included. Customer services and billing, another big topic. Right now, I believe staff's recommendation would be that billing would be handled by the vendor, by your trash hauler, as opposed to the city standing up a billing division or using another department who may already have billing and trying to make all those changes. You recall we've been talking at Stormwater about billing and the challenges that it has in creating a whole new billing area, whereas these haulers already have that relationship. And then there could be a whole lot of other considerations with regard to an RFP. As you've attended some of these public informational meetings, you're hearing all sorts of ideas that maybe we want to talk about. Just kind of as a point of information, I know we shared this earlier with the full council as we were talking about the priority goal, but there are a majority of our metropolitan area communities that already contract. So it's not really a new or novel idea. Here we are, we're in August. This is just a summary. You've seen this presentation before. Earlier in the year, we presented this as part of our engagement plan so that you can see where we're headed. with August doing kind of our kickoff, September, probably a lot more detailed work. October, we're kind of making some more finer adjustments and hopefully arriving at a recommendation sometime either October or November for the City Council's consideration. So with that, I guess I'm open for any discussions you might have at this point, but we're just kind of kicking this off. Any questions you have or discussion you want to have as we go into the final week of our public engagement?
Any questions?
You said in the, that you've had maybe 25 to 30 people that have showed up for each one of these town hall, but it isn't really a town hall.
It's just an open session. People come and go. They can ask questions of staff that are present. We have had meetings with council members present. We've had meetings without council members present. And so they've been more than happy to engage their constituents as they come in and try to explain really the thought process. The question that I think I've heard most of the council members is what initiated this as a priority goal? And I think that's pretty consistent with the priorities that we identified: cost, neighborhood impact, customer service. Those were expressed by council members as why they thought this was a priority goal to move forward with.
Now, but it wasn't an open forum whereby people were like sitting and talking like
yes.
the town halls, or it was?
Yeah, it was. It was an open dialogue.
Good, okay.
We would meeting. There wasn't really formal presentations.
Okay, good. Yeah, because, you know, when we talked before, I thought they just walked in and looked at stuff, and I thought, well, people are going to have so many questions.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of prepared material for these
Okay,
public sessions.
yeah,
It's
all right,
really
good.
staff being there helping address their questions.
Okay, good, because I got lots of questions too. So,
Yeah,
all right,
and we
super.
will be assembling a lot of these questions to create, you know, frequently asked questions information that we post on the webpage, so that, you know, if you didn't ask that question during the informational meeting, you could go there and see, well, somebody else did, and here was the response.
Okay, so there isn't any real preparation that needs to be done as far as...
As a council member?
Yeah.
I know
yeah.
you're the last.
You know me.
And Mayor Pro
Yeah, I
Tem
know.
Lopez are the last
Yeah,
council.
you know me. I like to be ready for something. Something's gonna, I'm not worried about it. I'm just saying I like to have a heads up. Okay,
Yeah, you're good to go.
okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair.
You can ask your colleagues.
What?
Ask
Yeah,
your colleagues to the
I
left.
could.
They had their meetings.
I actually had a couple people reach out to me after our meeting that went into the meeting completely against it, left the meeting with a better understanding. And I wouldn't say for it, but definitely no longer against it.
Right.
So that was kind of good to hear that you guys gave enough information to let people, just inform people more. I think that's the biggest thing right now, especially with an email that went out. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
There's still a lot of misinformation circulating, and you actually can watch the dialogue online a little bit of people who have been now a little more informed, debating people who are still uninformed, and we're just kind of letting that dialogue play out. But we'll certainly take a look at that too as some anecdotal information that might supplement some of the formal public comment that we've been receiving.
Yeah, I've had a couple of people that were very against it that are now like, well, it maybe wouldn't be so bad. Yeah, especially after looking at several other cities that have done it successfully. So.
Yeah, and I would encourage you still to ask people to continue to submit their comments, especially this week while we're trying to wrap up. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
What are your thoughts on the composition of the task force? 13 members, 8 being just residents at large, not really affiliated with an HOA.
I think I'm still a little confused about that, because it's just like, okay, I'm okay with whatever the decision ends up being and what the citizens and the residents here in Lee Summit want to do. But I just don't want it to be, that was where I was going before, was I just don't want it to be like more one way than the other. And that was my only, like, how are we going to make sure that we really get a good mix of yes and no's, and then we can come to a consensus of, you know, because we're making a decision on behalf of the entire, you know, population here. So
it is, and
13 members.
As I explained during the meetings I was at, the informational meetings, we want their to be constructive, and I expect any member of this task force to be constructive in a way that, if you're just objecting and you don't want this, that's not helpful. But if you don't want it, but if we're going to do it, you say, I'd like this to be part of it, that's helpful. Same thing with regard, I love this. This is a great idea, do this. That's not really helpful. Say what it is that you like about it so that we can lean into it more and provide that same benefit to others in the community.
Yeah, because, people get kind of emotional about it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my only thought.
Yeah.
One thing that I've heard over and over is even a lot of the people that were against it were when they heard that, some people might want to prioritize local, then they were all of a sudden for it. So I think that seems to be a huge thing amongst even a lot of people that are against it, to reconsider their stance if they know that we possibly will prioritize local. So I'm excited to see how that all plays out. But any other comments or questions?
Oh, I do have a question. So with the task force, what does that timeline look like for them? And then I'm assuming you're going to bring back the information that they gather from their meetings and present that to us, or how does that work?
So they'd be collaborating with staff at the same time as we try to develop our first version of the request for proposals.
Okay.
So that they have a little bit of feedback. There could be, little parts that they weigh into. If we feel like there's a strong opposition to something as an entire group that's contrary to some of the feedback we received in the public, we want to make sure you're aware of that. Okay. I don't know that they won't necessarily be making a recommendation of the RFP, but they'll be there to assist as we prepare it.
Okay, and then the RFP will be brought to us to
Correct.
be like, hey, we'd like to tweak this, or we'd really like to see this in there, or whatever.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
You guys will end up essentially recommending an RFP to the full council by the time we're all done here. And then the council will either decide to move it forward and we'll advertise that RFP and begin that process, or I guess they could send it back to committee to continue working on it.
Okay. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You're good? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we don't need to do anything because it's going to continue discussion. Okay.
Yeah, there's no action. I just wanted to make sure if we were making a 13-member committee that we were kind of on the right track, because we want to get this, and it's going to move very quickly. Their role is going to be a couple months, and then they will essentially be done, and hopefully maybe we can keep them in touch so that they can help in an education role later.
Have you had quite a few HOAs already show interest in wanting to be on something
Yes.
like this?
Yeah, we've had a number, and then I think later tonight there's a meeting of HOA presidents that Mr. Bussin will be attending.
Oh, good.
To help provide information and hopefully solicit some more engagement opportunities.
Perfect. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is item J, 2025-7065, discussion stormwater utility discussion, August 2025. Mr. Binger?
Okay.
Okay, good evening, George Binger, City Engineer. This should be, or we think, will be our second to last presentation to committee. This is to kind of walk through the sales tax options that we had discussed, kind of get into some of the details, and then next month we'd try to come back and make sure we clearly understand the recommendation to council that we would be taking forward to full council. So I'm going to briefly kind of recap some of the level services, funding, and then kind of dive into some of the sales tax options and comparisons that we have with other communities and how it reads out. So this is summarizing from our previous level of service discussions. And so what we're looking at is the proposed level of service, basically the things that are highlighted in the dark color in black are things that we're adding through this funding program. And then what you see on the right is there's some things that are in the red that are already in our general fund program. So we're not talking about removing or eliminating our current general fund budget related to stormwater. Now there's stormwater activities and things that will continue, and this will augment that is what we're looking at doing. So you look at what we'd be adding, primarily through this proposed sales tax would be things like the smaller capital improvement plans, adding the the 2 additional crews bring us up to 3 full crews for stormwater. We'd be looking at street sweeping. And there's some other ancillary items that kind of may fit into this, things like that are stormwater related, like the median maintenance and upkeep, the litter removal, the curb and, some, curb and gutter replacement, because that curb and gutter and street is actually part of the stormwater system with what we have here. So those are some things that we'd be looking at being able to do more of through this. Then we look at more of kind of the engineering and planning side. We're looking at, this is again, where we're adding that stormwater educator, additional customer service staff, trying to do some of the more partnerships and training with the schools. And then we'd be able to ramp up some of our things that we're doing with our flood, the flood insurance program, mapping and programs there. And then again, we talked about the idea of being more interactive or proactive with HOAs, like the inspection basins. And so we get into that proactive education, the proactive maintenance and partnerships and things of that nature. Okay, so resources, again, we've talked about the 2 crews that we'd be adding, the capital improvement, and we're looking at adding, that's about $6.1 million per year in current dollars is what we're looking at for that, to fund that program. So then this is illustrating the gap. Again, our current operating budget is about that $850,000 range. So you can see that's a fairly significant increase. And so what we looked at were the different ways of approaching this. The sales tax, which again, the property tax, which is what we're talking about on the right. Again, there was a very clear guidance. We don't want that. Then we looked at the stormwater user fee, and we looked at that more significantly because it's very involved and detailed. And then our last conversations have been focused more on the sales tax, and a lot of that gets to the ease of administration, the time of implementation, how fast we can get that up and running, and just it seems to be a model used commonly here in the state of Missouri. So when we look at the funding approaches comparing sales tax versus user fee, one of the biggest advantages on the sales tax, it has very little administrative cost. And so again, we're looking at the user fee, we're looking at close to $500,000 just in administrative fees and uncollected revenue. And if we're looking at the sales tax program, that's money that goes into the system on an annual basis. The other thing that we're looking at is that that's not really shown on here. One of the things that we see commonly in Missouri is that the state has established that parks and stormwater sales tax. A lot of these communities have a rain direct program, and one of the things we talked about with the Parks Department is if we're looking at going to more of a regional or master plan base in our stormwater, some of these large basins, if they're constructed as dry basins, can also be used for recreational facilities. Parks indicated what they really need are practice fields. We've looked at with this Little Blue River study with the Corps and examples of some dry basins, and these are basically basins that when it rains they hold water for 24 hours or so, then they drain out, and then it's usable space again, basically becomes parkland. So whether it be trails, practice facilities, so that's one of the things we'd be looking at through this program. And there's a very clear connection if we look at that parks and storm sales tax, if we look at that recreational enhancements as well. Another primary advantage on the sales tax, it's very easy to understand. When we're talking about going out to public education with the voters, it's something they're familiar with. If we start talking about a user fee, we're having to go through this whole process again of explaining impervious area, bill credits, exemptions, composition of the board, establishing an oversight board. So there's a much longer lead time as far as just the public education requirement to understand the user fee. And then also just that implementation time. I kind of highlight this here, the longer implementation time right here. It's about 2 years from the time we get a voter approval to actually go live and collect the fee. It's about a 2-year process because of all the systems we have to stand up. Other considerations, trying to get a comparison of what it's going to cost per household. So this is a very rough estimate on sales tax. What we know is there's about 41,600 housing units in Missouri. If we look at, and we know that some businesses and commercials, they buy supplies and services, they're paying sales tax on that. We have people coming from outside of Lease Summit spending money here. So there's going to be some offset on that. And so if kind of that conservative approach, we're looking at maybe $125 per year per household on the sales tax. I looked at it another way. It could be as little as $100 per year per household. And then if we know with the user fee, we're in that $110 to $120 per year per household. So this is kind of trying to show that that burden per household is very similar if we're looking at the comparison between sales tax and user fee. Yeah.
How can the user fee be less than the sales tax when there's so much more stuff you have to do with the user fee and administration?
Well, that's just with the user fee, that was based on what was collected. And part of that too is that user fee impacts businesses as well. You have a lot of commercial properties. You would have the school districts. You would have the school districts and churches and stuff would be paying that user fee as well.
So we'd be bringing in more money on the user fee?
It would be comparable. We would be bringing in a similar amount of user fee. Again, I'm just looking at the cost per household on this.
So, Councilmember Rader, when you're looking at user fee, so you back into the user fee amounts. So you set your target revenue that you need to support the utility, and then you work backwards to the impervious area and the billing rate that meets what your expense demand is. This is also considering that churches would pay, school district would pay. Now, if you start exempting those from the user fee, the cost per household is going to go up because somebody's going to have to pay for it. And I think that's where Mr. Binger's saying, the user fee may be a range of $110, maybe it's $130, per household. All depends on what kind of credits, exemptions, the policies, a lot of those things that can influence the rate that it still would generate the $6 million to $6.5 million that you desire. But on a user fee, it's not a tax exemption. You would make the policy, right? Yeah, on the sales tax, they're exempt, but then you have the visitors and the businesses that are contributing to the sales tax collection.
Yeah, another way that I looked at this, and I don't know if this is going to be more confusing or not, but I'll see if I can talk through this here. But another way I looked at it, instead of just estimating what's commercial versus whatever, what I looked here, this is the median in Lease Summit, this is the median household income, that $105,000. So then I deducted, assumed 20% in taxes, Social Security and things of that nature. Assume they're going to spend 50% on housing, transportation, savings, which is not taxed. So that leaves that balance is what's taxable. And so basically taking it that was about $105 per household. And so if you look at it that way, that per household times the number of homes, which is up here, generates about 4.3 million. So then if you looked at that leaves 38% for non-residences, commercial opportunity, commercial operations and things of that nature. So that's where I was kind of saying it may be in that $105 to $120 range per household is what I was looking on from a sales tax approach. And these numbers I'm looking at the household and units are taken from the 2023 census data. So that's one way. Again, this is not a perfect science. I kind of asked finances. There's really no way on sales tax to split out who pays what or what activities and things of that nature. So I'm trying to get a broad-based approach because I know that's going to be one of the big questions. What's the cost per family or per household? And so I think what I'm trying to illustrate here is it's comparable either way. Yes.
And we have to vote on that as well. So you've got to present that to the public of, it's going to be approximately $125 per year per household.
Correct. Okay.
Would the user fee, would that bill apartments too?
Yes.
Okay.
It bills commercial, it bills apartments.
I mean, it bills each individual resident or
Yes.
just, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I guess kind of some background on the user fee is a lot of states went that direction in the late 80s because of the Clean Water Act amendment, which was the unfunded mandate that stormwater has to be addressed as far as clean water. And so a lot of states they could go to a user fee without going to public vote because they could do that as a utility. Now in Missouri, that hasn't been fully tested yet. There's been some court cases in Missouri where they kind of lean towards taking it towards a public vote. But again, it hasn't been fully tested. So what we see in Missouri is the state established this half-cent parks and stormwater sales tax. So quite a few communities have gone that direction. And this is me looking at, just looking through real quick in about 10 minutes or so, or 5 minutes of at least 15 other cities that have adopted a stormwater sales tax. And you can see that O'Fallon is stormwater only. All the other communities show it as parks and stormwater. So this is a fairly common practice in Missouri when we're looking at this. So you look on the Kansas side, they could go with a user fee without a public vote. So that's why you see more utilities or stormwater utilities in Kansas than you do in Missouri.
So why are you putting parks in there? Did parks get a piece of that?
Well, currently the city has a 1/4 cent parks
Right.
sales tax.
Oh, I see. So you're just clumping it together.
The state statute is that a city or municipality can assess up to a 1/2 cent for parks and or stormwater. So that's why they're included.
Gotcha.
So this is referring to the statute that says, for stormwater control or local parks or both. Okay, so that's basically our ability to do that, and there's sample ballot language. And again, I think talking with our law department, this ballot language would be fairly simple. If we look at the user fee, that could be a fairly complicated question on the ballot. So again, that gets to that public education issue. So kind of looking here at the local level, what I'm showing here on this top is the total sales tax, because the way that Missouri's statute's written, it says communities can have a 10.1% sales tax total, so that includes state, county, municipal. So you see here at Lease Summit, we're at 8.475%, so we're not the lowest, but we're clearly not the highest at this point. And then, so this is broken down state, county, municipal, the zoo is a separate tax, and then some others that have special across-the-board sales tax. Now, this does not include our special sales taxes, such as the TIF districts and TDDs. Those are special districts that don't count against that limit. So down below, what I've got is, when you see this municipal number here, 2.75, this is showing how it's broken down to come up to that number. So currently in Lease Summit, we have our 1 cent general sales tax, our 1/2 cent capital improvement sales tax, the one that will sunset in 2015 or 2032, the permanent transportation tax, a public safety tax, and then at 1/4 cent for parks. And so you can see these other communities across the board have this park sales tax, so that's fairly common locally. Two of them you can see it's clearly split between parks and stormwater. So that's kind of what this is showing. So you can see this is where locally, again, our sales tax rate, we're at this 2.75, so we're down in this lower tier. So graphically, this is what it looks like. If we were looking at adding a 1/4 cent for the stormwater, we would be at 8.725. So we'd be up here equivalent to Blue Springs if this 1/4 cent tax were approved. Okay, so last time we kind of talked about stormwater tax, the sales tax options. We looked at one of trying to do it where maybe it's just a smaller increase, where we're looking at, we split, we're looking at, just add, 1/4 cent, the 1/4 cent for stormwater. If we look ahead at like our CIP sales tax coming for renewal up in 2032, we could split that. 3/8, 1/8, and 1/8 on the parks, and so we're not really, it's a lower increase. Or we look at it now, we just go with the 1/4 cent at this point in time. either way, we're generating this amount of money. Now, we're showing $6.2 to $7.5 million because currently a half-cent sales tax is generating close to, $13 million per year with the use tax in there. But understanding we don't collect this right away, when it gets approved, there's a lag, and so there's kind of that initial ramp up the first year or so in collecting the tax. But one of the things, again, this is where I think if we're looking at this on the, if we're looking at the full quarter-cent increase, this allows us to do achievement of these levels of service objectives you're talking about. I mentioned briefly the rain to wreck. We're looking at the regional stormwater management. It's a very common model, and that really gets us to that full level of service much more quickly. Okay. So questions, discussions, next steps. I'll pull this up and kind of next steps I talked about. Okay, again, trying to confirm, okay, sales tax, are we looking at proposing the quarter cent? And then next we'd come back and kind of finalize, okay, here's the recommendation. We recommend it for the election on such and such day. And then taking that forward to council to prepare the ordinance. So I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions right now?
Wait, just a quick question. At what point are we going to want council to decide on which direction to go on the billing?
I think we're asking coming back in September for a formal recommendation from committee. And so then that would be in October going to council for the full recommendation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So we're still kind of vacillating between sales tax and user tax or user fee?
From my understanding, we're not.
Okay, so because we kind of said sales tax?
Yes.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just kind of recapping to make sure because we talked about user fees for so long, then we steer into sales tax. I just want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of why we made this decision.
Well, I think as I think about it and then looking at your presentation tonight, then I'm thinking, well, maybe the user fee's better because it hits more businesses and individuals and saves money a little bit, but then you've got all the other complication of it. So I don't know, I guess I'm sticking with sales tax.
So if I'm understanding this correct, sales tax, more money would go to the city because there's not the administrative fees and all of that. So I mean, it really balances. I mean, that seems like the better option.
Yeah, roughly we're looking at, like I said, that $250,000 to $600,000 goes directly into the system instead of administrative overhead.
Yes. So if we all agree tonight, can we just make a motion tonight to go to council?
Well,
or is there more discussion?
I think our preference would to package it neatly for a motion for your next meeting. Understanding this is the direction we're clearly hearing and receiving is that you prefer a sales tax for a number of reasons. It is easier for the public to understand a sales tax than a user fee. You don't have to deal with all of the exemptions, school district, or if you wanted to impose it, you can imagine they would be upset about that. It generates just as much money. In fact, you get more money because you don't have the administrative costs, you don't have the outstanding debt, collections. There's a lot of challenges with the other. But I think it'd be best if we just package it all up in a very brief next meeting recommendation that you can advance to the council. And that we wanted to make sure we were packaging it up right. Sales tax, do the quarter cent stormwater parks tax as the rate, the basis, not splitting it in different ways. We have talked with the Parks Department, and Mr. Snook says, yes, that's fine, just the remaining quarter cent. And so then the full council can have a discussion on your recommendation. If they want to move forward, they would direct staff to present an ordinance. I would anticipate that it's the committee's desire to move this forward so that maybe we hit an April election, get this moving as quickly as we could. Is that all correct?
That sounds great to me.
Well, in your next steps here, will we be talking again next time in September about the ballot language and all these things that you're saying here that are in bold?
I believe the ballot language would be the city council. So they will hear your recommendation because they haven't heard other than through committee reports that you're leaning towards a sales tax. I think the committee owes them a final recommendation of sales tax being a quarter cent stormwater parks tax as the way to do it. your level of service, how much you anticipate it generating, and then let them wrangle over what the ballot language and give staff that direction.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
I mean, Chair.
Any additional questions? No. Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Finger.
thank you.
All right, I guess that takes us to Roundtable. Does staff have anything for Roundtable?
No, just as another reminder, I know we talked about it tonight, but there is one more public informational meeting this Wednesday, 6 to 8 at the Police Department's training room. If people are aware where that is located, it's on the north end of the building. And you don't have to be in District 3 to attend. We've seen members of the public attend all of the different public informational meetings. But then we also have a grand opening I'm sure everybody's aware of for Green Street.
What grand opening is that?
I don't know. The best part, in my opinion, is underground. You can't see it. But it's been working, yes, Mr. Elam said. For a little while, we've had some heavy rains and no flooding. So.
Looks like the landscape's changed out here in the window.
They keep planting. I'm watching it in my office.
No, I'm looking at the hoops.
Oh, yes. Everything else has changed.
Everything's changed.
But no, we have that. And I just think there's a number of ribbon cuttings come up, so look for those also to be announced as the weeks pass by.
PD substation, isn't that one coming up?
Yeah,
Right
I was looking at, we had Chipman Road here, 2 weeks ago as a ribbon cutting. It's now open every 2 weeks, so we got Green Street this week, a couple more weeks, I think it's PD substation. A couple more weeks after that, I think we're looking at Hangar 2, and then you got Coleman Road and 3rd Street, so we got a lot of work we're getting done.
Yeah,
It sounds like a lot of parties, actually, which that's good too.
Yeah. It's been a lot of work.
Yeah, you guys have done a great job.
A
Thank
lot of
you.
stuff that's come through this committee, so thank you.
All right, well, I guess we'll adjourn the meeting as of 5:47.